What are we saying? Here we go, another one, back to back to back to back. Already in the first week, we're having a bunch of support. YouTube's a great place because like these long form videos, people are really finding useful. I'm able to explain stuff in more depth and people are getting a way more value out of it. And we've already had a video go over 400 views, which compared to my Instagram doesn't look like crazy views, but I know that these people are going to be impacted so much more. So I love that you're here and I love that you're watching another one. This video is going to be going through the biggest area footballers are missing, which is leading to so much pain and injuries. And it's going to be deceleration. We are not training our decelerators. We are training the complete opposite. We are only training our accelerators over and over and over. We're training our hips. We're getting super strong in the hips and everything down the chain is suffering because of it. I'm going to come back to this video later in this YouTube video to show how each of the steps I'm laying out can allow us to build crazy deceleration and athleticism like Lionel Messi. It's not just our acceleration, it's not just our speed, it's not just our power, it's the ability to decelerate, to handle those forces, to turn that makes Messi such a great player. And there's actual exercises that we can use, areas which footballers are neglecting, that we can train, that we can use to be able to create deceleration strength like Messi. And the fact that we're not training deceleration means that we are literally manufacturing ligament tears, we are manufacturing chronic tendinopathy, shin splints, ankle injuries. All of these things are coming from just powering up the hips, lows and lows. I talk to so many pro footballers over and over again, and the main thing that's missing is that they're just focused on the accelerators. So much more money has been spent on the research to do the acceleration. So much more money has been spent to train acceleration and to increase our vertical, increase our hip power. And that is absolutely fine. I'm not saying that's bad. But without training the rest of our body, in balance with that, our knees, our knee flexion, our ankle extension, every single other area below our hips, we are literally manufacturing injuries. And I've done this in myself multiple times. I literally just talked to an 18-year-old and I might have just saved his career because his programming, he came to me and he was like, yes, like I'm building, my vertical's going up, I'm getting super strong, like my programming is the best. And I was like, hey, well, show me your programming. Then his programming was box jumps and trap bar deadlifts. And then on some other days, we had like some pliers, which were like skater jumps and this and that. And it's like, all this stuff is good, but he had not a single bit of knee flexion in there. He had no mobility. He had no ankle strength, not even a calf raise, not a tib raise, nothing in there, in that program that is going to save his knee and going to save his ankle, which is why we have so many knee injuries, so many ankle injuries. We're literally producing these through our training. Right now, he probably feels great. He's probably like, oh, I'm adding an inch here and there to my vertical. I feel great. But it just takes that one time when we've powered up our hips too much and our knees can't handle it to have the ACL tear. If you look at the way that the ACL connects, it connects from the front of the shin bone to the back of the thigh bone. So when we're powering up the hips and we're pushing into that knee, that ACL is so much more likely to snap if we haven't built the needed deceleration strength. ACL tears are an all-time high, and there's an all-time high of people that are re-injuring them after they come back. I'm not a doctor, so I am not telling you advice exactly on how to heal ACL, how to do this, how to do that. I'm not telling you anything medical, and I love the medical industry, I love the physiotherapy industry, but what I am doing is giving you simple mathematics and having a look at what is going on and telling you why we are getting the results that we are getting inside of our strength training. We bring clients inside of our training and they use our knee ability programs in conjunction with seeing their physiotherapist and getting tests from them, and we see that the re-injury rates are so much lower. People are able to play their sport for longer. They don't experience the knee pain. I've had people come to me with so many injuries and we're able to look at their ability to look at the areas which they're missing and help them out so much. So here are the areas which we are not training, which we are missing in our training, which are responsible for decelerators. So the first is lower leg strength. If you look at this exact position where Messi is here, he's about to slam his foot into the ground to shoot. And how many times do we do this? And we mostly do it on one leg. It's shown that the more imbalance we have leg to leg, the more injuries we are going to recruit. When it comes to kicking the ball on the other side and we slam that force into the other leg, that one time that we do it, if our decelerators aren't strong enough in that other leg, that's where an injury is going to happen. So imagine like all of us favor one foot. For me, it was a right, so a slamming force into that left foot. And I was never building that tibialis strength on the right foot. So then if I was to go and slam that force into my right foot and go kick with my left, it's not going to be the same. I'm not going to kick as hard. I'm more likely to have an injury, everything else. So we're now creating our body imbalanced one side at a time. The three missing areas: lower leg strength. Like I say, if you look at this here, this is literally a tib raise. When he goes to decelerate, he's going to slam his foot into the ground there, the first thing that's going to happen is all that force is going to go into his lower legs, so his calves and his tips. So if these are then weak, all of that force is taken by either the shin bone or the patellar tendon or something else. Something else is going to take that impact, which is why we see loads of patellar tendonitis, loads of ACL tears, loads of different injuries. It's because we're not training our tips to a certain extent. We're not training our calves to a certain extent, but especially the tips for deceleration. So then you go into something simple like a tib raise, and I'm literally training this exact position which Messi is in here, and I'm going to show you more in depth in this video how to actually train these areas. But then we have the step up. So the step up is this exact position. How many times in a game do we go to decelerate and we literally get into this position where our knee is slightly over our toe? This is literally what a Patrick step up is. If I let the video play here and we're going here, if I can handle this much weight on my back in this position directly where the ACL is targeted, this is directly strengthening our connective tissue within our knee. And this here, if I'm stronger in this is going to be so much easier for me. I can now decelerate. I can now turn it so easily because I'm so strong in this. My ankle mobility from the Patrick step up is so much more. My knee can go so much more over my toe and it's so much stronger there. Best athletes, including Lionel Messi, have the most knee over toe ability. So let's create that strength there. And again, Messi, if you look at this other leg here, his VMOs literally pop out of his shorts. His VMOs are some of the biggest VMOs I've ever seen, and because he goes into the position so much and his body has adapted to that. So how do we get VMOs like Messi? Is we use exercises like this where our knee goes over our toe, we use the step-ups, we use the deep squats, we use the stuff which we are missing. And then thirdly, we have the hamstrings, we have knee flexion. The hamstrings are the primary decelerators, and no one trains knee flexion in the same amount that they train hip extension. They don't train Nordics. I don't see anyone, and if they do, like, Nordics are treated as either a rehab exercise or something to just control eccentrics on. I can rep out 36 Nordics. We want to get to elite standards. Obviously, the most important part in this Nordic, where the ACL tears, is that end range here. And most people don't even get to this because they're so weak. So most people can't even get to this point in a Nordic. So what we have to do is use a Nordic bench regression where we have those straight legs, because I want you to be able to get to that pit. Most people are bending their hips. Most people can't even control to the bottom. So we're not even getting the benefits to actually protect the ACL. Then, if we can get to the elite standards, if we can control that full Nordic, if we can get to the point where we're repping them out like I can, then that's going to be the point where our ACL is more protected. Charles Poliquin used to say that knee flexion is our second ACL. It literally protects it. And it's here, in this position here, where Messi is so strong, where ACL tears usually happen. It's either turning, it's twisting, it's planting the foot in the ground the wrong way. And the ACL is directly under tension during knee flexion. It doesn't contract in the same way that muscles do. Like, the muscles are contracting, but it's getting passively strengthened in this position and it's getting protected. So those are the three big ones, and we're going to run through exactly how to train each one. So the tibs, like I say, first easiest way is just body weight against the wall. Like, it's not hard to do. Like, to a couple of sets a week, like at the very minimum, like at the start of your leg training, chuck in some tibs. Like, why would we ignore a muscle? People are hating on tib training because, like, Ben made it really, really big, but why would you neglect a muscle? Like, I believe that we are designed by a creator. You can believe what you want, you can believe biology, you can believe universe, but I believe that everything in our body is there for a reason. So our tibialis, if we're not training it, that is not good. Why are we not training our tibs? It doesn't mean not to train everything else in balance, and it doesn't mean that the tibs are this massive muscle. I'm not going to do the same amount of sets on my quads than I am on my tibs, because the tibs are a smaller muscle group, so we can do less sets on that. But at the same time, I'm not going to not train them. So the first step is tib raise against the wall. Then for the flexibility side of stuff, because obviously, like, this is only a short range of motion, we can't get that full stretch on our tibs when we're up against the wall unless you get super strong and go far out. So then it's like, okay, the tib bar, an absolute beauty of an invention that's been coming out the last few years. So with this, we can get this full stretch in this ankle joint, and we can start loading at whatever thing. So your grandma can start doing it. Someone that literally has no tib can start doing it. You put 0 weight on it. You put a kilo on it. You put 2 kilos on it. But we really want to aim for a standard of 20% of body weight for 20 reps, full stretch on the tib raise. And most people that I put on there, unless they've got like elite genetics and their tibs are strong, but they're doing loads of jumping, that kind of stuff, they're not going to be hitting the standards. So this start hitting them. They start training the areas which we are neglecting. And then finally, don't just want to make them strong. So then we have the tib stretch. And this is Caesar position is what we should be in anyway, all day. Like, I don't even really sit at a desk. I'm only sitting at a desk now because I'm recording a video. Literally before this, when I was creating the slides, I was sitting down there in this kneeling position. Not only is this a beauty for the top of the tibs, like, all of the fascias getting integrated, your knees are really going to benefit from this. And if you look at tribes that are either resting in this position, in the deep squat, but they're using their full knee bend, and no one ever does anymore. But this is about tips. We'll get on to another video about full knee bend, but this is about tips right now. From there, we then have the step up. This exercise, it didn't single-handedly save my knee, but it's one of the biggest factors that saved my knee. I've done this exercise nearly 2 or 3 times for the last now 3 years, and my standards are way above these. But we want to be careful with this because this is a joint dominant exercise. This exercise here is literally targeting your tendons, ligaments, everything like that. In this position here is exactly where the ACL is targeted, so you have to go slow. I do not want you to put loads of weight on this. I don't want you to use loads of height straight away, but we do want to work to standards slowly over time. This is joint dominant, so yeah, you might be able to move it, but if you feel anything in your knee, you could injure yourself. So we start at low elevation. We start at 2 inches, 3 inches, wherever there's not any pain. Like, we don't ever work through pain when we're targeting the knee directly. And the first thing that we do is the Patrick step up. So the Patrick step up, we're trying to get to the point where we can fully flex our ankle. This is increasing ankle mobility and knee strength at the exact same time. The biggest form point on this is to keep our torso completely vertical. The slightest little hip shift forward, we're not using our knee anymore, we use our hips, and that is one of the most common things I see. I've had people come to me like years after ACL injuries and they can't even do a basic step up, which is where the ACL is targeted, and they've been told you can go play football, you can go do this. How long is it going to be before they have another injury, have another tear, if they can't hit these standards on the step ups where the connective tissue is getting directly targeted? So the first exercise is more ankle, but it's knee as well. And this is going to be Patrick step up. Eventually, we want to get to 8 inches with 50% body weight. But I do not want you to start here. I want you to start maybe 3 inch, maybe if you haven't got any pain, maybe 4 inch. If you have 3 inch, we want to go high reps. We want to go 20, 30 reps on these step ups. We want to make sure that there's no pain in the joint. Go slower on these exercises. But connective tissue takes longer to grow the muscle. It can grow stronger over time, but it takes longer, especially if it's degraded before. I had 5 years in the injury. I had ACL, meniscus, tendonitis, cartilage damage, all this kind of stuff inside my knee. So it took me so long. I started on flat ground and I started assisted, and it took me years and years and years to get to the point where now I can do 8 inches with 100% of body weight, not just 50% of body weight. So I'm even further than this standard I'm giving you here. It took me time. Like, you need to let your tissues adapt. So we want the higher reps and we want you to start wherever you can. Then the Poliquin step up. When we add a slant board, the knee goes more over the toe, and this means there's more pressure in the knee, which by a lot of people is told, like, don't do this, because there was a study that came out in 1978 which says when you put your knee more over your toe, there's going to be more pressure in your knee. And that should have been the point where we were like going in a better direction. Like, hey, let's find a way to gradually build the strength in our knees when it is over our toe, when there is pressure on it. But instead we went the opposite way and said, no, there's not put any pressure on the toe, there's keep our knees behind the toe. And that's an interpretation of the study which was wrong. So when we put the slant board in, the knee goes more over toe, it's more knee dominant. So again, you can lower the height more than in the Patrick step up because it's going to be less ankle, it's going to be more knee, it's going to be more directly hitting that patellar tendon, more directly hitting the ACL. And I do not want you to push for any pain here. Again, you can go to flat ground with the slant board, you can use assistance of the upper body, you can use different things, because if we can't handle it and we're pushing through pain, it's only going to make things worse. We want to do these pain-free and build up over time. It's not going to come overnight, these standards. It's going to take you, depending on where you start, time. It will take you time. Tendons take time to adapt. Ligaments take time to adapt. But we can adapt them. Every tissue in the body adapts if we put pressure in it. Then eventually we have the Peterson step up, which first inside my coaching, I take people through and master the Patrick step up and the Poliquin step up first. And then eventually, once we're looking into the return to sport phases, we start to do the Peterson step up. And this is connecting the whole body. This is connecting the foot, connecting the knee. You're pushing up through the foot. So when you come down, the heel is lifted, and then as you push back up, it slowly comes to the point where it lowers at the end. So you're building this extra lower leg strength. But again, these are not starting points. 8 inch, I do not want you to start at. I want you to start maybe 2 inch on a Peterson with assistance. And I had to start there as well. I just start at a really low elevation, and now I'm hitting the elite standards. So, and like what I can show you from the Patrick step up video, like this is 8 inches Patrick step up with 100% of my body weight. But again, I'm just showing you this as an example of what you can get to. I now literally can't hurt my knees because of this information that I've been taught by my mentors, by Ben Patrick, showing this stuff, and I've developed my connective tissue within my knee. I can get to the point where I have so much strength in my knees, and I literally can't get hurt by football. There's no way for me to get a non-contact tear or injury. Like, it's just not possible for me because how strong my knees are using these principles. So 3 variations here. I want people to start on the Patrick because the more ankle mobility, the less likely we are to have knee injury. So if we can build that ankle mobility at the same time as building that knee strength together, that is going to do a lot of great things for the knee. And then eventually I want people to move on to the Poliquin step up with the slant board. And then I want people to move on to the Peterson and try and aim for these standards. But again, do not rush. Take it at your level and know that whatever you're doing right now is making gains. Everything is scalable inside the systems. This is going to be building your VMO. This is going to be building your quad muscles, building your connective tissue with inside the knee. And it's going to be so good for deceleration. Lastly, then we have knee flexion. And yes, like Nordic curls are crazy feats. It took me like a year and a half without the perfect progressions to be able to hit my first Nordic. Now I'm a year and a half in from hitting my first Nordic, and I can do 36 Nordics in a row. I don't see anyone hitting these standards. We're treating them even in the pro levels as just eccentrics, just rehab exercises when they're not. They're targets that we need to maintain. If we can't handle our body weight behind our knee here in the knee joint, we are so much more likely to have different ligament tears, have different kind of knee injuries, especially if we're powering up the hips, lows and lows. If we're powering up the hip lows and lows and all that force goes into the knee joint when you're decelerating and you don't have that hamstring strength, it's a recipe for disaster. So how do we start building the strength here? So we start using the lying leg curl, which is more muscle dominant. It's less knee joint. So this scales to people's levels so much easier. You can put on a certain amount of weight. Nordics are much harder to scale. So we start with the lying leg curl. We build up to 50% of our body weight. We start doing 2 up, 1 downs. We start doing different stuff with the leg curls, and we build super strong hamstrings, knee flexion there. And these are a great exercise that I still do to this day. But then for the real freaky bulletproofing over time, it is the Nordics. Like especially in this portion down in the bottom where we're holding all the way down, but not many people will get those benefits straight away because, like I say, they're bending their hips. So what we want to do is either elevate our hips, if we can have a pad under here where we can lower to, and even like a pad underneath our knee. That incline is going to take away some of the force and gravity, but it's going to allow us to get into that full lockout, which is super important for this eccentric strength. It's the hardest portion of the Nordic, which not many people get into until they get to the elite standards. So if we can find a way to actually regress it to the point where we can get into there but with less load on us, that's what we want to do. And then eventually we want to get to the point where we can just control these Nordics down. Like me and Justin here are just controlling these Nordics, absolutely smashing it into the eccentric, and then getting to the point where we have the Marty St. Louis Nordic. This is after a fat session of me just in the beach in Mexico here. If I went into like a Premier League gym right now, I probably bet 90% of the team couldn't do my St. Louis Nordics. And I bet not a single one of them can do the amount of Nordics that I can. Like, we need to develop these standards in order to be the most protectors. We want to treat Nordics in the same way we do as pull-ups. If we can't do a pull-up to start with, we find an assisted machine and we find regressions to be able to build up to one. But then once we get them, we keep building our strength there. We want to be able to do the same, if not more, Nordics than we do pull-ups. Like, that is the standards, and that's the standards that I want to see. This exercise here, I believe, from what I've seen, could lower the rates of ACL tears that we see dramatically. My ACL tear myself, obviously I can't predict going back in the past, and I have to be careful what I say because I'm not a medical expert, I'm not anything like this, but what I am is a strength coach, seeing the evidence before my eyes. I had a partial ACL tear, and I couldn't do a Nordic at all. And I was powering out my hips, I was doing half range of motion squats, I was doing leg press, I was doing different stuff, but I wasn't doing knee flexion. I was doing hamstring curls a little bit, but I wasn't getting to the standards which we need. So when we're building all this power in our hips and then we put that into our knees, no wonder stuff's going to happen. No wonder I had a tear. And now I've gotten to the point where I can do all these Nordics and my ACL is not an issue at all. I've gotten to the point where I can do all these step-ups and it's not an issue at all. But the lesson is that we have to do it at our level and progress over time. We can't just start smashing out these Nordics straight away. Like, we have to regress to the level. So that is the third factor. That is the third exercise. It's knee flexion. We need to train this. So let's take a look at this messy video again real quick. So first, you have that tib slam into the ground. You see this here. The tib is lifted. The tib is lifted, tib is lifted, tib is lifted, smashes into the ground, absorbs all that force. That's the first thing that happens. Then the knee starts to bend. The knee then takes that force. That is a Patrick step up right there. Obviously, it's caved in a little bit because in game it's a little bit different, but that is a Patrick step up right there. And look at his VMO via. You can literally, although this video is a little bit blurry, look at his VMO. Like, it literally fires. You see that there. Boom. Fires and switches direction from the opposite side of the deceleration. The hamstrings of the primary decelerators, and this position here is going to be found in the Nordic. If we can handle our knee being pried apart, we're going to be so much stronger in this position to decelerate and cut push off, boom, knee extension, Patrick step up, boom. We need to be implementing these as footballers. So the moral of the story is training the decelerator muscles which we're not training, such as the lower legs, such as the VMO, the step ups, and knee flexion. We want to get to the Nordic standards. This is going to help bulletproof our knees against injuries. It's going to help us be more injury resilient, be faster. All you have to do is study the greats in the sports. Study Messi, study Michael Jordan, study whoever it is in your sport which are the great. Look at them. Like, I just broke down Messi there, and it was exactly what I was saying. Tib raise, step up, knee flexion. That's exactly what it is. And this is only part of the system. I want you to understand that of like, okay, yeah, train these, but we also need to train deep knee bends. The reason that people can't get to the Nordics at some point is because that connective tissue within the knee, like we haven't been through the full knee bend journey. We haven't built the resilience behind the knee and the elephant walks, the Jefferson curls and stuff like that. So there's steps which can complement this and make this so much better. But when we're just talking decelerators, this is the formula that I like to follow. Now I'm literally impenetrable against tendonitis, against ACL injuries, against these non-contact injuries. Obviously, like, anything can happen, especially if it's contact. But against non-contact injuries, like, I wish I could show you what I could do right now. Cold. I can jump off stuff. I can go play football. I can do whatever I want. And I had 5 years of knee injuries. I couldn't even walk 5 steps without pain. So I am telling you this information to help you to be able to do the same. If you can see where I've gone from to the levels that I've got to in terms of the protection, then you know that you can do the same. My genetics were poor. My nutrition was poor. Everything was poor. I had a snapped kneecap. I had meniscus injuries. I had ACL injuries. I had tendonitis injuries. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to literally tell you what I done, what Ben Patrick's been able to explain to me, what Keegan's been able to explain to me. The best mentors, Charles Poliquin, Carl Peterson, who actually came up with these step-ups and used them with Olympic athletes for people that had knee surgeries, knee injuries, and thought they would never be able to compete. They won Olympic gold medals, and the staple of their training was these step-ups. The VMO gets bigger, the connective tissue gets bigger, the ankle mobility gets better. The step-ups are such an important exercise, but at your scale. So that's where it comes to the point where it's like, okay, well, how can we help you? The most results we see is from the one-on-one coaching, because we can literally tell you, okay, this is the form that you need. This is where you should be at the moment. This is where to scale at your level. This is how to advance. And we can literally create the entire program for you and to be able to help you through your challenges personally. And the thing is, like, even with the low-cost programs and the free ebook and the free education, like, the programs are amazing, the exercises are amazing, but if you don't master the form, then the exercises are worth nothing. Like, we need to master the form. We need to use them at our level without any pain and progress them over time. If I had a coach, my journey would have been 10 times quicker. I had to figure everything out on my own, watching Ben Patrick YouTube videos, watching different stuff, because I didn't have the money to invest that. But even at the same time, I was 16 years old. Like, I could have gone and worked a weekend job. I could have done something else to be able to afford my coaching. Don't make anything ridiculously expensive. So I even have free ebooks. I have the free education here on YouTube. I have low-cost programs. I have the one-on-one coaching. And every single thing is affordable to every single person. All you have to do is put in a little work to get it. So how much do you want it? How much do you want to get out of pain? How much do you want to get back to the sport you love? I wanted it so bad, and I got there. So yeah, this was a bit of a longer one. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. If you've made it so far, love it. Share this with a friend if you think it would help them. If anyone's dealing with any pain, any injuries, if anyone's just football players in general, these kind of messages is the stuff that we need to get out. We are going to change the footballing world. We're already working with pros. We're working with the top athletes, and we can see that there isn't the stuff that needs to be there. We have more ACL tears than ever. We have more pain than ever. So many of your favorite players are walking around dealing with tendonitis, dealing with different issues, and nobody knows. They're hiding it from the physiotherapist. They're hiding it from people, and they're finding me on YouTube. They're finding me on Instagram, and they're using my stuff, and they're overcoming so much pain. They're overcoming their knee injuries. They're feeling better than ever. They're performing better than ever. And none of this information is mine. I got it from the best mentors in the world. I got it from Ben Patrick. I got it from Keegan. And then they got it from their mentors, Charles Poliquin. We've seen the anecdotal evidence. Ben Patrick was able to make the biggest knee transformation in the world, and I'm following in his footsteps. I'm only just getting started. I'm 23 years old. I found this stuff so early. I'm going to use it to become an athletic beast, and I want you guys to as well. Follow me on this journey. Use the stuff. Actually put it into play, and you're going to turn into a freak. So if you actually want to work with me directly one-on-one, there is a link down in the description to apply for that. We focus on knee ability, and we see results over and over again. I was in chronic pain. I've been through physiotherapists. I've been through doctors. I've been through surgery, and nothing was working for me. And this stuff did. This stuff got me back to the sport I love. And just to be able to play the sport I love on a Sunday, it's the best feeling in the world. And that's why I've dedicated my life to be able to give that to someone else. Ben Patrick gave that to me. He gave me hope in my knees, and he allowed me to get back to football, and he allowed me to get back better than ever. It's going to be a long journey, but I'm here to support you every step of the way. So comment down below if you've got any questions and this help you out.